fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my God! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
This is very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series comes to Phoenix for the road course, and we are back to the normal 2-race format once again that produces so much action. This is a challenging course set inside the oval at Phoenix, almost like a car park in some ways, but there are various corners that will give challenge to our drivers and to our racers across 2 races tonight. I'm David Haynes, joined by Nick Scariev, Jay Kennedy on the production once again. Nick, what do you expect out of this road course, as you can see, built in the car park?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dave. Thanks for having me here. Very short and sweet course. Doing a bit of laps before qualifying, and yeah, James Chastanoff just dipping into the 105s here, so very, very fast lap here. I reckon we're going to be in for a bit of carnage on lap 1, cold tyres, and it's that really unique, almost like a triple apex corner, that turn 1. I reckon we'll see a lot of action there.
We saw plenty of action in the opening sequence of corners at New Hampshire. I have to tell you, at Phoenix, not all that different really. You come down off the banking, can unsettle the cars into a decreasing radius corner. But for the first 15-minute race, no pit stop, pure sprint. This is how they're going to line up on the grid for race 1. Pole sitter, as Nick alluded to, is James Chastanoff, and he's going to be sharing the front row with that man, Russell Clark, in the 07. Matthew Mites behind, then Nathan Verney, Dennis Hancock, our man Cameron Dance starting out as 6th, Braden Martin in 7th, ahead of astronaut Jason Fewens, and Philip Packett-Soulis and Ira Felberg round out our top 10 on the grid.
Yeah, just outside the top 10, we've got Sean Dawes and Reg James there on row 6, Peter Wilkinson and Isaac Summers there on row 7, Vic Benslevin and Matthew Joy there in 16th, Leon Williams, Philip Powell in 18th, and Jeremy Bush and Dean Russell rounding out the top 20.
And then just the remainder and the tail of our field is going to be Cameron Cousins and Darren Lesieux. Darren, without qualifying time there, unfortunately, but would still be able to take the start. This is what it's like in the desert of Arizona. Early in the morning, that is mostly correct. Air temperature 23, track temperature 28. And of course, not a whole lot of wind to speak of. You mentioned those quick, nearly 1-minute laps. That means that we're going to get about 13 into our opening sprint race. They are going to make a standing start on the oval. Thankfully, the pit straight are not particularly harshly banked here.
Yeah, that's right. And then we'll be coming into that turn 1 really slowly. It's a very wide corner, so plenty of space for everyone. And we should see everything and everyone get there through there pretty cleanly.
Looks like almost our whole grid lined up, ready to go. Green flag will get dropped shortly. We'll get into the action and see what can Chastanoff and Clark do on the front row, and is there anyone deeper in the pack who can surprise them? Revs rise, clutches drop, and the cars bog down, and so does Russell Clark, not with his greatest getaway, but Chastanoff on the inside away clean, and you see Clark has to drop down early to defend the inside from Matthew Mites. All going to fan out, and Dance trying to go aggressive around the outside here in the first turn. He's now the meat in a sandwich 3 wide. I hope he survives that one, and he does, but it was close for a minute there. He's getting aggressive off the start while your top 3 are still the same order they qualify.
Yeah, just looking down the line a little bit, it looks like Dennis Hancock was squeezed out a little bit. We're just catching him there on the live pictures there. A few 111 cars sitting behind, so everyone just trying to get the elbows out and get a bit of space here, but they're all going to come through this left-hand hairpin onto the straight, and they'll really spread out then.
Yep, a tight left-hand hairpin here to bring them back onto the banking. And oh no, that is some contact there between the 111 car, and Dennis Hancock gets turned around, so not a great start for him at all there. Just a little bit of nose-to-tail contact, and around he goes. But here's Cam Dance on the oval banking that brings them back to the start-finish line. Went low, and he's gotten himself third place away from Matthew Mites. So from sixth on the grid, Cameron Dance, lightning start up into third in the opening lap. Someone around on the banking in the background, but this is that turn one that is so difficult. Oh no, Jason Fewens has not had a good couple of races, and that looks like Philip Howe. 3 wheels on the wagon and sitting on the roll hoop. Oh no, he's gotten back on his 3 wheels, so that's dramas for Fewens and Howe on the opening lap, as well as Hancock. He might have picked up a little bit of damage. We go to our first virtual racing school replay of the evening, and this is what happened for Fewens. He'd already made a little bit of contact, I fear, with Hancock. Now, was there contact there, or did he touch the apron and get loose? Because that can happen as well.
Yeah, it's such a tricky corner, this D-shaped oval there, because it's really fast, and the rear just seems to step away from you. But yeah, Philip Howe, no time to react whatsoever. So just really unlucky there for his first race. I think might have been a bit aggressive trying to rejoin there with Fewens doing that flick around here. We're just looking here at Russell Clark. He's sitting in third at the moment behind Dance and Chastanoff. So sitting nice and well behind Dance at the moment, getting that real good draft that these skippies are known for.
Yep, Dance obviously just got ahead of Clark on that lap, and now been trading fastest laps back and forth between Chastanoff and Dance. See if Dance can catch for the lead in this short race. But behind them, battling certainly continues. Sean Doyle is looking for a move down the inside into the infield hairpin. Or at least that's going to set him up to maybe cross back underneath Philip back at Soulis. And then, of course, to the hairpin that leads them back onto the banking. That's always an overtaking opportunity if you get a good run. It's Martin Verney back at Soulis and Doyle in this 4-car battle here. Certainly Sean Doyle looking aggressive, because Verney's gone a bit wide coming back onto the oval.
Yeah, that you really need to nail that apex there on that left-hand side, and it's such a slow first gear corner as you go around there. So Verney just gone that little bit deep there on the brakes. It's very open as well going into it, so a bit hard to work out what your braking marker is, but tyres are nice and warm now, so we'll see these lap times come down and the pace speed up a little bit. So Verney sitting very well there, just outside the top 5.
Talking about the lap times coming up, or down, or improving. Chastanoff had the fastest lap of the race before Dance nicked it from him, before Russell Clark has gone and nicked it from them. This is good to see if you're James Chastanoff in the lead, that Clark and Dance and Matthew Mites are going to have a little bit of a back and forth here, potentially. Tighter line through there for Dance, for Clark, I should say. I don't think it actually lets him have a peek at Cam Dance.
Yeah, we're just catching a little bit more there of Russell Clark and a few of the other Milo guys a little bit further down, but just seeing these battle packs forming up here. So really between these 3 here, Dance, Clark and Mites. So Dance possibly the strongest out of these 3. I think they'll be pushing to really stick with him as well, but Chastanoff really putting in a dominating display at the moment.
Yeah, he goes and grabs the fastest lap back before Matthew Mites pinches it, because he had that beautiful slipstream along the back straight through the banked final corner and then through the pit straight as well. Opening sequence of corners here. Slowing, turning, and then into this chicane change of direction. And clearly, it hasn't worked so well for Vic Bent Veltzen. Got in a little bit too hot and then couldn't make the car turn into the tightening section, and he lost quite a bit of ground there to Peter Wilkinson and Jeremy Bush, who can now battle over the top 10. Peter Wilkinson, he's got some pressure on him from Bush here for the top 10, that's for sure. Tighter line as the corner opens up on the exit in the infield here. Sort of the opposite to the opening sector, but there's been drama deeper in the field, and you can see how much dust there is offline there.
Yeah, it looked to be between, I think, Cameron Cousins there and Dennis Hancock, so another really slow corner there. We'll look at the VRS replay here. Yeah, just looking here at Matthew Joy at the moment, we're just trying to find it. Oh, so such a a tricky left and right there. So, might have all three of them off. It might have been a bit of a distraction there. It is blind. You're kind of a bit blinded by the arm code there on the left-hand side, so they might not have seen what was coming up. So, a bit unfortunate for those three, but we do have the feature race later on, so maybe a bit of redemption.
Sean Doyle, remember, we caught up with him in 10th place and said that he was looking like he could pick up some more positions. Well, indeed he has. We saw him, I think, slicing through Philip Bakatsoulis, coming into the infield and through the decreasing radius corners. So he's up into 7th now. What's going on for Dean Russell in 13th? All a bit of his lonesome, honestly. Might be a bit getting caught by Matthew Joy and Darren Lasue behind, though.
Yeah, a bit of a quiet run there for Dean Russell. We're just trying to work out where he did. He did actually qualify 20th, so quite an improving drive there, managing to avoid some of the carnage that we caught earlier there. But Clark there, we just caught it there on the live pictures, right on the back of Dance. It's such a fast part of the circuit. Dance driving really well defensively. It is a bit of a tricky track to get a good pass in. So open, and you can use quite a lot of those track limits.
Yeah, definitely got a spot where the curbing is in the infield of the circuit here. These two have managed to catch Chastanov a little bit. You can see it. It was, 1.6 seconds, 1.7 seconds, and somewhere along, Dance has just started to pick up the slipstream. He's got a good line coming onto the banking. He's got it underneath a second. Chastanov was walking away with this one. But now at about the halfway point, the tides have turned a little bit. Here's some different lines going into the final corner. And Dance is going to let Clark through, is he?
Yeah, potentially might be trying to line up a bit of an attack later on, or lapsing concentration or something. It's with these slower Skip Barber cars, it's usually not the best to go so wide there. But, man, maybe... Yeah, we'll have to ask Dance later on why he thought that was a good idea, but still sitting about half a second there at the moment from the back of Clark there, so not really within striking range now. He'll have to sit in until he can get on the back of Chastanov again.
Yeah, for sure, halfway, and interesting to see what is going on with these top four. Chastanov walks away and then gets closed back again, and that is a very sideways entry from Russell Clark. You wonder if that's going to compromise his run off the corner just a little bit. But it also seems to be a weak corner for Chastanov. He seems to be losing a couple tenths through there, maybe just to gain them through the opening sector of the lap, and then lose them again.
Yeah, we're just on board here with Clark. You can just see that wheel work there as they come around past that start-finish line. So lap 9 of 13, so starting to get to near the business end. You can just see that slight amount of oversteer there. Chastanov taking a really wide entry there. Seems to have paid off for him now. Still maintaining around that 1 second gap there, but 1 second is all he's going to need come time for the crunch.
Yeah, and I think that wider entry into the tightening part of the opening of the lap, I think that's a line you can run if you're a second clear, but it's not a line you can run if you're anyone side by side in a battle, for example, because it just tempts your opposition to have a look down the inside. Now, Sean Doyle was ahead. Philip Bakatsoulis has clearly not managed to get away in this battle. Bakatsoulis holding serve in a way, trying to not let Sean Doyle get away in 7th place. These two aren't really catching the teammates of Martin and Verney for 5th and 6th, though, especially as they battle like that. But 4 laps to go. This is what the gap for the lead looks like. Russell Clark has just gone and set the fastest lap of the race once again. It's a little scruffy at the end for Chastanov as well, so your top 3 basically as close as they've been since lap 1.
Yeah, might be a strike of smarts here by Cameron Dance by letting Clark through, because Clark's definitely closed that gap there to Chastanov. We could see it was only a few laps ago. It was around that second mark, so almost closed it to about half a second. And I reckon in a couple of laps he's almost going to be within striking distance there of Chastanov.
Getting a good run through the hairpin here, absolutely critical, because at about the half a second that it is now, you're definitely going to see Clark pick up the slipstream, especially if they can keep the throttle absolutely wide open through the final banked corner, which I imagine they can in these Skip Barbers.
Yeah, you can when the tyres are warm. I was doing a few hot laps, entertaining everyone else as I was spinning coming on to into pit road. But and it was the same here. This turn one's so tricky as well, and it's really hard to work out what the best line is. I think Chastanoff almost has it done perfect. So you're sitting nice and tight, go slightly wide, and then pull it in tight again. Really smooth off that double apex here. All the other corners are actually quite simple to get. You can see as they go into that left-right flip-flop, really hard on the brakes. Keep it in nice and tight here. You can see Cameron Dance there right on that rear wing of Russell Clark.
Absolutely no one has this circuit on their list of favourite tracks, but there are a couple corners here that do make it interesting, where there's some different lines through turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and then also where we just saw that sort of hammerhead switchback in the infield as well. And then this banked corner that's flat out in some cars and not in others. Here's your top 3 covered by just 0.4 of a second. Matthew Mites unfortunately has been dropped off the back of this one, but you have to feel Chastanoff for the first time is under quite a bit of pressure, because Clark has the run on him, forces Chastanoff to defend to the inside. Oh, Clark picks up a little bit of the grass, somehow is going to hold on to it. That is sideways all the way through the corner, which you kind of want to avoid doing ordinarily, but he is on the limit of adhesion, trying to just force Chastanoff into a mistake.
We do see a lot of rallycross here at Phoenix, so you'd almost think that Russell Clark was behind the wheel of a rallycross car with a slide like that. I was actually just looking a little bit further down the line there between Dean Russell.
There's a bit of 3 wide. There's a bit more 3 wide as well.
Yeah, I think that's also Dennis Hancock as well. Bit of redemption, so almost come together there between Leon Williams. I think that might have been Nathan Burney as well there. So battles are plenty here at Phoenix. So track I don't really mind. It's good because it only has a few corners to remember, so that really does well for me. But yeah, we can see Dennis Hancock having a lot of bad luck earlier on, so battling for some of the minor placings here in 16th.
They're also battling for the lead because they're side by side. Clark got his nose in front, but it was round the outside, and he's messed up the entry. Now Dance has gone from 3rd, big slide from Chastanoff, and Dance is into the lead. Oh, 2nd and 3rd there, Chastanoff and Russell Clark. Clark losing his nose cone. Dance coming from 3rd into 1st as the guys battled side by side in front of him. Just took that tighter line, swept on by them. Now just needs to hold on to it from here until the checkered flag, but the pressure is on from Chastanoff. He's got the tighter line here to try to open up the throttle early, try to take the shorter route, try to force Cam into defending here at the hairpin. Potentially not gonna happen. So how is Chastanoff gonna out-drag in between here and the line? It's going to be difficult if it's flat out from here until the end. Dance down low, doesn't want to give any chance for Chastanoff to steal that inside line, that low line on the banking away. Both of them right the yellow line of the apron. Chastanoff 2/10 back and closing, but you can see where the checkered flag and the finish is, and Cameron Dance is going to get it first, having been 3rd just a lap ago.
Yeah, Dance with the mastermind there, absolutely turned it on when he needed there, just on that last lap there, and we're just seeing a really close battle there. I think that's Nathan Burney just edging out. Oh, sorry, Sean Doyle and Bakasulis. Bakasulis maybe just losing out there. We'll have to have a look at the results afterwards, but some great battles there in our first sprint race of tonight.
And this is still coming to the line between Joy and Hancock. Hancock in a position to potentially be able to slipstream to the line. Oh, that is an aggressive block from Matthew Joy. Does that feel sporting to you?
Yeah, I think that might be on the line there, but I think Matt Joy might have just had it. You really don't want to start diverting offline and cause a big accident, but I think they're just talking about it there on the driver chat. I can't actually hear what they're saying there, but potentially might be revised afterwards. We'll have to see.
certainly did look a little bit like moving in reaction to which way the driver behind was trying to go, which is a bit of a no-no in a straight line and to the checkered flag. But here's how they finished. Cam Dance, 10th and a half ahead of James Chastanoff. Russell Clark, that bit of damage, unfortunately, dropping back, and Matthew Mites just couldn't quite hang with the podium positions. And then Vernie and Martin traded positions once or twice, and it's Vernie who's going to finish just ahead of Martin. Sean Doyle in 7th, ahead of Philip Bakatsulis, and then a little bit further back goes that battle between Jeremy Bush and Peter Wilkinson.
Just outside the top 10, Ora Felberg, Vic Benselin in 12th, Darren Lezier in 13th, Leon Williams there in 14th, Matthew Joy, as we just saw before there, edging out Dennis Hancock there for 15th. Dean Russell there in 17th, Cameron Cousins in 18th, Isaac Summers and Reg James, unfortunately not getting there to the end.
And the same true of Philip Howe and Jason Fewens. We saw the damage for both of them, quite significant on the pit straight, wheels off the wagon. It was race 1 from Phoenix Road Course. And race 2 is going to be the 25-minute pit stop race, which is going to be very, very interesting on this oval. So, going to see, maybe, if we grab a replay or two from race 1. Just take another look at some of the action that we saw, because it really, really did all kick off in the final 2 or 3 laps there. I mean, we had our eyes on the lead battle, and then there was also a lot of 3 wide going on, some of those more minor places from the 13th and backwards.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's definitely a track where you can kind of sit in there and make the most of that banking, and but wide enough to really put those attacks in when it counted. And talking about when it counted, we're just on board here with Cameron Dance from 3rd into 1st. They did just such an incredible job here, Dave.
Yeah, this is coming to the white flag, just taking that low line on the banking, trying to carry as much speed and just work out what on earth these 2 in front are going to do. And what he does is he stays high, tracks down low, and then just finds so much grip there where the pit stalls are for the oval. Maybe they're doing burnouts coming out of their pit stalls and it rubbers in. But sort of Clark was looking at what Chastanoff was doing. Chastanoff was looking at what Clark was doing, and Cam Dance sort of swooped in on a more preferred line and took away all the sweeties.
Yeah, and just seeing Russell Clark there, and we did see him in the previous lap losing a position. Very lucky. I think if he was about 2 inches forward, you just see that nose cone get torn off. He almost would have taken himself and Chastanoff potentially out of the race there. So very aggressive move there. We did see him clip the grass last couple of laps as well. So pushing so hard here. And on radial tyres, there's only so much you can push with these.
Yeah, they're also sort of a treaded road tyre as well. So we'll see how they go when they need to change 2 of them in race 2. That one's coming up in a little minute. We will be back very, very soon to continue this round of Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series from Phoenix International Raceway.
This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh my
here.
God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
Back at Phoenix for Aussie Car Formula Skip Barber Series, and we are ready for race 2. Call it the feature race if you want, call it the pit stop race. It's 25 minutes, and all of the drivers are going to have to make one pit stop to change 2 tyres. That is almost always the front tyres on the Formula Skip Barber, but it changes up the strategy and can give us some interesting results. Talking about results, this is what the championship standings looked like coming into this round before Phoenix. Cameron Dance at the lead with 5 wins. Consistency for James Chastain and always being around about the top there has very much kept him in the hunt. Michael Skurlock has grabbed a win, but then falls a little bit further back on the points, and I haven't seen him here today either, so that's probably not going to help. Russell Clark might jump ahead of him there then from 4th, and of course, consistency is absolutely key in the points format here, and that sees Nathan Verney in 5th.
Yeah, we're just seeing also Jeremy Bush really consistent there in 6th place. Jason Fewens, the leading 111 car there in 7th, unfortunately had that big accident early in race 1, so will not be helping his chances.
There's a very, very long tail to the points table for the results, such that finishing consistently inside the top 5 is much more strongly rewarded than winning one race, DNFing, and then winning again. You really want to avoid DNFs. You really want to avoid finishing outside of the top 10. But here, it's an on-board lap of this road course at Phoenix. As you can see, early apex, let the car breathe a little bit in the middle, hold on to that tail, Cam Dance, and then bring it back around to the traffic cone where the traffic sort of forms a little bit of an S's here, and you want to be on the correct line for that, otherwise you are losing speed and traveling a much further distance. Then into what I'm going to take from Top Gear terminology, call the Hammerhead. Fast in, settle the car, tight change of direction, and then picking up the power cleanly on the exit. The track just bows in a little bit at the exit there, stop you running out too wide. Then the hairpin back onto the oval. You don't want to get too much of that curb on the inside, but you definitely don't want to run wide of it. You can actually probably use a little bit of the banking on the exit of the corner there to help straighten the car up. And then through the final corner here, long, loaded, lightly banked corner. You want to be on the correct line to be able to keep the throttle in, carry the speed to the checkered flag, and then of course back into turn 1 to do it all over again. Lap times here have been just underneath minute 7, a minute 8 or so. So they do come around pretty quickly, even in this relatively low-powered Formula car. But for race 2, qualifying right now.
Yeah, just catching a few of the cars there. We've got a pretty early pace setter again with James Chastain just edging out Cameron Dance. So going to see these times come down a little bit as the tyres heat up over the 8 minutes there. Matthew Mitz, unfortunately, falling off that pack of 3 there, so just missing out with that podium. So hopefully he can get his strategy really nailed there and stick it to him. Just catching Bakasoulis and Sean Doyle almost doing identical times there, and it was very plain to see there in race 1 the battles between those two. So those two very, very evenly matched, only separated by, at this stage, 1,000ths of a second.
They certainly did. Swap 7th place a couple times in the race 1. Now it's 6th that they are looking for, and now it's 7th. As Chastanov improves, so do some others. I think Bush also put down a solid time into 4th. Peter Wilkinson 14th, but coming through that final banked corner, the rear looking a little more taily for him than we've seen for others.
Yeah, great showing there as well by Jeremy Bush. Still early days yet, obviously, with we're only just reaching the halfway mark of qualifying at the moment there, but to get all the way out there into 4th place up against some really strong drivers is such an excellent result there. So it's just seeing James Chasanoff there, going to be knocking out another lap. See if he can improve there. He's only 2 100ths in front of Cam Dance, so not really that much of a buffer at the moment there. Just improving. Oh, sorry, Dance there putting in a blinder there with a 106.3. Unfortunately, we'll be going back to the pits maybe to get a new car there, and we're just on board with Dennis Hancock.
Jeremy Bush has also improved to 3rd place, which is interesting to see. Dennis Hancock across the line from 9th. Where does he go? Up into 8th. There you go. There you go. So a couple of drivers still finding quite a lot more time as they keep going on, and shorter lap probably means that the tyres come in a little bit later in the qualifying than they would at some other circuits we've visited, just by the nature of you cover less kilometres to warm them up.
Yeah, just looking down the order as well there. So Ora Felberg down in 17th. So he was really strong there in the first qualifying session. I think he was around the 106s. So we'll need to get it into gear there because he's very well down the order at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. Bit different this qualifying than the qualifying we saw for race 1. Is that almost an attempt to practice the pit entry there from Cameron Cousins, or is this an alternative line through the final part of the lap? Regardless, it doesn't look like it's quite going to see him jump ahead of 20th. Here's Verney. Great battle between him and Braden Martin that we didn't get to see a whole lot of in race 1. And again, they are qualified very close to each other. So some of the battles we saw in race 1 might just resume for race 2 when they grid up like this. Cam Dance on the pole. And Chastanov alongside him. And then Jeremy Bush, Russell Clark. So that is good qualifying from Bush to be able to mix it up with these guys. Braden Martin in 5th, Mites in 6th, Verney for 7th, Hancock 8th, Philip Backatsoulis and Sean Doyle are going to line up alongside each other.
Yeah, just outside the top 10, Reg James and Vic Bedsell in there in row 6. Matthew Joy and Isaac Summers there. Sort of a bit of battling between them. Philip Hell and Peter Wilkinson sitting in 16th. Ira Felberg and Dean Russell there in row 9th. And Leon Williams, Cameron Cousins finishing that top 20.
And yeah, that is going to be our grid. Almost all of the drivers lining up. We are yet to get your pole sitter, Cam Dance, and Jeremy Bush also not yet lined up on the grid, but they've still got a minute to form up before we get another standing start for what's going to be 25 minutes or 22 lap race. And I think the track has cooled off just an itty bit there, but the air temperature and the sky conditions stay about the same, so I don't expect this to be radically different from race 1 weather-wise.
Yeah, that's right there. Going to be a pretty close race here. I think Jeremy Bush is going to be potentially a bit of a sitting duck there with Russell Clark and Braden Martin. So, and Matthew Mitz a little bit further down the line to where he was there in race 1. So, going to see, I reckon, quite a lot of battles here at Phoenix.
One person I think we're not going to see battling is Jeremy Bush, who I think has had a problem of some kind. Cam Dance appears on the grid, but I think that 3rd place is going to be vacant when we get racing in just a moment. The revs rise, and we get racing for race 2 of Aussie Car Formula Skip Barber. Once again, the car's on the high side. not looking like they're getting away as cleanly as those down low. Russell Clark had to very quickly jump across to try to protect third place from Braden Martin. Chastanov had a little bit of a look at Cam Dance, who still holds the lead, and there's a little bit of a concertina and contact. Whoa, more contact as they go 4 wide through the flip-flop at the opening part of the lap here.
Yeah, we've just seen the 111 car there of RFLberg, potentially with a mechanical having that rear suspension damage there. Oh, we've just seen a few more cars go off there, so really very spectacular here on lap 1. We could see quite a lot of cars here head into the pits a bit earlier. I think that was Philip Bakasoulis was one of the cars there off through that flip-flop.
Yeah, Braden Martin 2 at the Hammerhead. So Dance still leads, Chastanov in second, but there was a whole lot of contact through the opening 2/3 of the lap. Braden Martin and Philip Bakasoulis, I think on cold tyres, have, well, not related. For Bakasoulis, Martin, nope, just the rears let go. Cold rear tyres for Braden Martin, and Bakasoulis does very, very similar. So that change of direction, the fast entry, proving very, very challenging. But what does pit lane look like at the end of lap 1? Quite a few takers, and key amongst them, I think, from second place, James Chastanov is going for an early pit stop. Here's Dean Russell doing what we saw some do in race 1 as well, just losing the rear on the banking. His rear tyres not up to temperature yet, and these drivers are trying to push them like they could at the end of race 1, but the grip is not there.
Yeah, and he really clouded that wall hard there. He will be getting it to all the actions in pit lane there. Just seen them all come out there. I think that might have been possibly Benslin there. Is Chastanov still in the pits at the moment, so not too sure what's going on there. You know that he will want to get out there as quick as he can, trying to work on that championship. We're just seeing Dennis Hancock a little bit down the line there. I think he might have been in one of those first lap incidents, so not having the greatest round here, but what it's done though is really broken the field up. Clark and Dance there, quite a fair way up the order there with Vic Benslin. I think Vic qualifying 12th, so all the way up into second place. So he's really made the most there of all that action.
Certainly quite a lot of early pitters, and that long pit stop for Chastanov ended up going for 50 seconds instead of the about 10 that you want to change the front tyre. So that has just about poured cold water on his race, unfortunately. No such problems for Cam Dance, who's rejoined the race as the leading of the cars that have pitted. But there's a bit of smoke in the Hammerhead here, and who could that be dropping down the order? I think is it Matthew Joy? No, it's Chastanov again.
Yeah, so Chastanov, well and truly, I think he's all being a lap down by the end of it as they'll come around here. So Chastanov just not having that great luck that he had in round 1 there, and yeah, just spinning it round gently. Very lucky there not to be collected by, not too sure who that was behind him. I think that might have been Vic Benslin. So yeah, Chastanov being more than a lap down now, so that is his race definitely out of the points, as we've just seen Braden Martin turn around and Philip Howe. So a lot of people struggling with these cold tyres here.
Yeah, that change of direction, it's the fast entry, and then you're braking and turning, and then going from the left to the right-hand corner. It seems to really catch out if they're at the limit of grip on the rear. Here's Russell Clark coming back into the race through what's a rather unconventional pit exit on the road course here, but no match for Cam Dance, who we saw flying through picture, and you can see in front. Vernie Mites off the back of a strong 4th place last race. 7th at the moment, but he's definitely got a head of steam to try to challenge Nathan Vernie. Wide line from Vernie, not the shortest line.
Yeah, you can see how deep Vernie was really going in there. Potentially being that dynamic track, that dust there on the inside might be catching a few people out there. And you can see Vernie again missing the apex, so might just be overdriving the car ever so slightly. What it has done with all these incidents is really pulled a few people like Jason Fewen started almost at the back of the grid, as well as Cameron Cousins there, and they're almost right near the front. I know that they've still needing to do their pit stops, but they're having a much easier time this time around.
Interesting from Vernie there to just give away the position to Matthew Mites through the final corner. I thought that Mites was a little bit quicker. Dennis Hancock's about to catch them, and just 3 cars are yet to pit. It's Bent Veltson, Wilkinson, and Leon Williams, your top 3. So then from 4th on back, pit stops for everyone else. That is the true running order. And you can see Cam Dance with about 2 seconds from Russell Clark. Then the Matthew Mites, Nathan Vernie battle we were watching. This very well could be for the podium with Jeremy Bush out of the picture, James Chastanoff out of the picture. Maybe it's time for Mites or Vernie to step up to 3rd place.
And actually back from the dead, we didn't get to see Jeremy Bush make it to the start line, but he actually is out on, well, he's actually just come back into the pits, but he was out on circuit as well, so would be absolutely gutted there qualifying 3rd place and not really being able to make the most of it, but he will get some laps in. So just seeing a few of the guys out in front there come around the outside. I think it's Matthew Mites there and Nathan Vernie really close together there, only about 2/10 or so separating these two.
Yeah, a bit of a defensive line from Mites, which is interesting because he was handed that position quite easily earlier. So we will see what they do. Can very much tell that the tyres are starting to warm up out there and give more grip though, because I just saw personal bests out of a whole handful of drivers as they come across the line, having worked through the traffic and made their pit stops and now had a lap or 2 to get temperature going into the tyres. A lot of drivers are really hitting their stride and finding their confidence, including Vic Bent Veltson, who just set his personal best at the lead. But here's Fewens. And I want to suggest the replay's probably not a good thing through turn 1 and into turn 2 and then turn 3. Quite a bit of the curb there. Oh, and then it's wide and there is no grip out there.
It's a, and so lucky there. I think that might have been Chastanoff that almost collected the back of him. So Chastanoff just having all the bad luck there at the moment. I just caught off screen actually Nathan Vernie up through the inside there of Matthew Mites there. So 6th and 7th have just swapped positions there. Vernie feeling that he's got a bit more pace here at the moment. We're just catching Reg James, who looks to be missing a rear wing there at the moment. So there's
I think I know where it's sitting. I think I've seen it. It's after the hairpin where they feed back onto the oval. It's off the racing line, but I was taking a peek at some of the other shots, and I swear it was sitting somewhere there. Oh, I can't quite see it from that shot. Maybe it doesn't hang around forever. Maybe the marshals got to it, but I definitely saw some other cars come past, and there was a bit of bodywork just sitting on the road.
Yeah, good run here from Ira Felberg. So yeah, qualifying down the order there. Started in 17th place, but showing his consistency, just picking him off one by one there. So not too far from the top 10 here. I think he has his 111 teammate there of Isaac Summers sitting there in 10th place. So might be able to get that. He's showing a little bit more pace there as well. So he might be on the back there of Isaac soon enough.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to work out what the pit delta might be for the top 3. I think it works out around about 35 seconds here, which would see Vic Bent Veltson slot in somewhere between 9th and 10th there. So everyone in your top, I think 7 or so, you can definitely, from 4th backwards for about 7 positions, you can say are going to all grab positions when the remaining 3 pit stop callers take their stop. But then from about Summers, Felberg, Reg James backwards, those cars are going to start feeding into the traffic when they make their pit stop. So you don't want to be losing time right now if you are Reg James or Jason Fewens. See how it goes for them. Jason Fewens, though, is definitely in a position to pick up the slipstream.
Yeah, possibly just might be that little bit too far back. You really want to be under that 1 second mark or even under that again to really make the most there of that draft there. Reg James being the leading Emu racing car there, with James Chastanoff having all kinds of bad luck there, which has put him in 20th place currently and a lap down. But good showing by Chastanoff. He's back out on track there, so hasn't given up as of yet.
In fact, he's gone and grabbed the fastest lap of the race. So that's a real shame to see the long pit stop and then the spin take him away from someone giving Cam Dance, Russell Clark, Nathan Verney, Matthew Mites a little bit more challenge. So the car's clearly all good now, but might have been speeding on the way into pit lane, potentially, that saw him held quite a bit longer than everyone else. They're going to go side by side, though, for Verney and Mites is down the inside into turn 1. He's going to park it in front. Verney's not going to be able to chop back underneath. So that's still the battle for what's going to end up being third place.
Yeah, great showing by these two, especially for Nathan. We've seen him really show some consistency through this season and put those practice hours in and really edging up the front there. He's got that title on there. I think Matthew Mites might have gone a bit more deeper than what he liked there. So if Verney can really get in nice and late here into this into this left-hand hairpin, he might be just close enough for a draft.
Looks like a smooth enough exit. Dennis Hancock still just looming in the background as well on this one. If they keep going side by side through the opening corners, it definitely would lose them time. They might get an indication of that when they get to the check to the line this time, what the times look like. It was a personal best for Mites and a couple tenths off a personal best for Verney. So they didn't lose too much time to that. It's Braden Martin, who has caught Reg James.
Yeah, you can see Braden there right on the back there. We almost say the rear wing of Reg James, but I don't think there's really a rear wing to have. We're just going to catch a VRS replay of would-be of Matthew Mites.
Yeah, Matthew Mites has lost 2 positions to Verney and to Hancock into turn 1 here. Really throws it in, finds the limit of the rear grip, and then just a little bit further pushes him really, really wide, and then Hancock steams on through as well. So could have been worse for Matthew Mites there, but it just shows that everyone, every time coming off the banking into that tightening turn 1 is really on the limit of the rear grip, trying to hold on to it. Here's Leon Williams for his pit stop now, which leaves Vic Bentveltzen and Peter Wilkinson yet to stop. Mites with a run back on Hancock, but he's going to have to be very careful, a bit more tentative through this section of corners this time.
Yeah, Matthew Mites, very gentlemanly of him to ease his way back into there and not cut off the cars behind. We have seen, unfortunately, in race 1, you've got to be so careful there on those re-entries and not to cause an accident, especially if you're trying to avoid something there in a skip bar. It's very easy to spin it. As we just see Dennis Hancock almost with Matthew Mites there, well and truly up under the rear of his car. So Mites with the pace here out of these two, I think he's going to try and go for that. almost clipping him there again. So he's going to try and pull that draft there on the straight.
Certainly is. They start from up high in the banking, both of them this time, then try to bring it down low as Cam Dance continues to steam away in the lead. A lot of speed now for Mites, looks to the inside. Dennis Hancock, I think, just lets him go on that one for now because there's still plenty of laps to go to try to grab him back. Very strong looking line from Mites though, as he now has a couple of car lengths ahead of Dennis Hancock, more than I would have expected. This is Reg James, obviously. And he's got Jason Fewens running a different line behind him, but then trying to duck back into the slipstream towards turn 1 and then rolling out of the throttle about the start-finish line is interesting from Fewens, who clearly doesn't want to get too close. At least not yet. James Chastanoff's getting a lap back. Getting a position back off Matthew Joy and is about to line up Cameron Cousins. Dives down the inside, goes Chastanoff. and gets 2 for 1 as Cameron Cousins ends up losing out as well. So Chastanoff, after that very long pit stop, has finally started catching some cars for position, moved himself up into 18th. You can kind of see on the front nose there, though, why he might have been catching Matthew Joy.
Yeah, Joy there with a little bit of damage, and we're seeing damage across the board, really, and is seeing Reg James there missing that rear wing. It does make it easier to identify him compared to some of the others. Just trying to catch a few of the other cars there off screen at the moment. We're just seeing a few movers and shakers. So we've seen Ira Felberg has gotten past there into that 10th place. Still seeing a few cars move around there at the moment. And yeah, as you were saying, Chastanoff just working his way up the order now through the pack.
Exactly. Still watching Joy and Cousins for 19th and 20th, but Cousins got his nose in front. Not hard when Joy doesn't have a nose. And then they got to slow up, tighten up the line, bring it back to the apex there. And Matthew Joy absolutely monsters it. Still trying to stick with Cameron Cousins, who pushed a little wide on the exit, which is a mistake I think we saw Fewens make as well. So they get to that sort of right-hand apex, and the corner's not done. They've still got to let the car keep turning to then get it onto the straight. Far more flattering angle there for Matthew Joy. Got to know your good side. Got to know your lighting and your angles, man.
That's exactly right. So still seeing Peter Wilkinson and Vic Bensleven sticking it out there at the front there at the moment. So they're going to start almost running out of time there. Vic's just that little bit too far behind there to really make an impression there on Peter Wilkinson. Almost 2 seconds behind there. We can see Cam Dancer and Russell Clark. Russell Clark not really close enough to put an attack in there. So Vernier might. So we, not forgetting, we did see Vernier letting Mites almost through right close at the start of the race there.
Here's Ben Nelson making his pit stop, which just leaves Peter Wilkinson out front in the lead, looking a little more factory fresh than his teammate Matthew Joy. And of course, you know, we talk about the short lap here. It means that there's lots of laps in a 25-minute race. It means that you get a very, very wide pit window. You can pit very early. As you can see, lap 16 to 22, could still go 4 laps longer for Peter Wilkinson before he needs to pit. But I think back at Soulis might have encountered a bit of trouble with Philip Howe and Darren Lesieux. I think I saw the nose get some damage for back at Soulis.
Yeah, just catching some live images there of Isaac Summers. And back at Soulis with a lot of damage there on the front. Very unfortunate. He was quite the way up the order in both race 1 and earlier on in race 2. We'll catch a VRS replay of that.
We certainly will. I think there was a check-up. Yep, coming onto the banking, and that was with Howe and Lesieux trying to go side by side. Obviously, Howe in the orange and blue machine, and Darren Lesieux is this green-black machine. They just sort of... Lesieux was trying to get an over-under on Philip Howe, checked it up at the apex and back at Soulis. I think just wasn't expecting it, so a difference in speeds there. Sees back at Soulis with a less than flattering nose job.
Yeah, with his feet almost a little bit exposed there. So back at Soulis, a bit unfortunate. Some bad luck there for race 2, but that is a problem with these small tracks. Is it's such a roll of the dice. So much action and so much spinning there. As we're just seeing Fewens there, just showing a nose on the outside there of Reg James. Whoop. It's almost, I think he might have been looking left, trying to work out where Reg James was and not looking where he was going. So just off course there. We've got these 3 behind there of Howe, Lesieux and Bakasoulis. So things are heating up here right down the order there. So all for that 12th and 13th position.
Here's Peter Wilkinson on the pit lane, which is the last of our drivers who needed to make a pit stop, which we'll see the running order update to a true representation of what the field looks like. Cam Dance in the lead, Russell Clark in second, and Nathan Verney headed for a podium if he can keep Matthew Mites behind. The fringes of the top 10, I don't think these guys are actually going to catch Peter Wilkinson because he's out of pit lane and running now, slicing in between Sean Doyle and Isaac Summers. In fact, Isaac Summers is going to get around the outside of him. Peter Wilkinson is still going to try to hold the inside. I think he rolls out of that one a little bit with his cold tyres. See, Ben Veltson up to speed with Felberg and Braden Martin. I think Wilkinson could be a bit of a sitting duck to these guys if they can catch him in the remaining 4 laps.
Yeah, we did see a bit of action between him and Ben Veltson, and I think maybe in race 1 there, as you can see that 111 car all over the back there of Vic, so clearly being held up there. He's going to hold that inside line there, Ben Veltson, letting him through there, trying to get there onto the back, which is going to pull, I think, Braden Martin there right onto the back of this train, so really heading up there. Martin pulling out there and down the inside of Vic.
Yeah, you'd expect there to just be not as much grip on the front tyres for Peter Wilkinson. He's still nobly trying to hold on as Braden Martin gets down the inside very, very easily. Veltson surely ought to have more grip in these long corners. That's what you need. Just the front grip, make the car turn. Wilkinson holds on nobly, side by side with Braden Martin. And then loses out a little bit as Ira Felberg swoops around the outside. Is the door going to remain open for Bent Velzen? No, because Ira Felberg gets in too hot, pushes out wide. And this is smart stuff from Peter Wilkinson right at the end of the race here to try to hold off these guys. But Velzen around the outside of Ira Felberg is going to snatch one of those brakes, and that's not going to help him slow down and turn and get to the apex, unfortunately.
Yeah, Ben Velson again having issues with that left-hand hairpin. Other cars just pulling it up there. So it's actually quite a fast entry into really slow corner there. So quite hard to, you've got to break in quite early there as we're just catching up with Bakasoulis and Philip Howe there. So Bakasoulis did get a move in a little bit earlier there, but we can see Philip Howe, potentially that damage there of Bakasoulis slowing up ever so slightly there. And Bakasoulis is going to be on the outside, which is where you're not wanting to be there for such a high angle of this corner.
The frame construction of the Skippy very much on show as somehow you lose the nose cone but still get to keep your front wing there. Back again, Wilkinson and Felberg. Felberg's going to have the inside here.
Yeah, great defensive line there by Felberg, but you got to hand it there to, I think to Peter, is it Peter Wilkinson? Yeah, really getting that drive there onto that straight, but not always going to be lost there. We're going to be crossing the line there for the white flag, so it's going to give Felberg another chance to potentially pull that ninth position again.
2 to go, I think. Dance comes around next time he starts the final lap. So, yeah, great work from Wilkinson with those cold tyres coming out into quite a ferocious little battle pack to just keep his nerve, not overdrive the car, be aware where he's slower, but place the car and keep his lines in a way that some of these guys have really struggled to get around him. Still heading for 9th place or so. Cam Dance has started the final lap, 5 seconds clear of Russell Clark, who's then another 6 seconds clear of Nathan Verney. Wilkinson going a little wide. Felberg gain around the outside for this hairpin turn. Looks like he's going to break a little bit deeper and just try to cut back for a late apex because Wilkinson's finally made a bit of a mistake there. He got in too hot. The car wouldn't turn. That has very, very much compromised him, as these guys are then going to come around to take the white flag.
Yeah, almost Ira Felberg getting a bit of retribution there on that left-hander there. We could see Peter Wilkinson was up the inside only a lap ago, pulling that same move there. So it really shows how critical it is to get that corner nailed. Just see him hanging back a little bit there at the moment. Ira Felberg keeping it really, really tight there through that really long left-hand corner.
Out the final corner, though, is going to come Cam Dance to just about clean sweep this one. He is the winner in race 2 from Phoenix International Raceway in Ozicar Skip Barber Formula Series. Butchered that one a little bit. Clark for second. Verney and Mites ended up closing up a little bit here. But Nathan Verney is going to hold on for that podium position, and I think he's pretty happy with that. I want to guess. Dennis Hancock doesn't seem too displeased with 5th either. Remaining battles that are going to come to the line could be Isaac Summers and Braden Martin here. If he's in the right position, Braden Martin could get the toe on this one and win the battle to the line. He gets a bit lower. He's carrying more speed. Needs to be able to pick a line. He's going to go down low to the checkered flag. I think he's just not going to get that one. He just runs out of time, and Isaac Summers holds on to 7th place, but Braden Martin fought him all the way on that one. Bit of a mirror image further back with Reg James and Jason Fewens. Fewens ought to have aerodynamically the stronger car, but Reg James still holds to the line, this time down low. Wow.
Yeah, sorry, seeing a few finishes there with just only hundredths of a second separating them. So some really close battles here to see the last of the minor positions funnel in through.
Cam Dance. That's not the pit entry line he took during the race, but he seems pretty happy with himself. A lot of great battles right at the end there as the pit stop strategies converge, particularly, Peter Wilkinson there going very, very long, using all of the clear track and coming out right in the thick of a battle. He could win a few of those battles, but in the end, I think he might have lost the war. Here's how they finished race 2. Cam Dance won ahead of Russell Clark, and then Verney holding on for podium position ahead of Matthew Mites, who might become a bit of a 4th place regular the way that looked from race 1 to race 2. Dennis Hancock in 5th, Sean Doyle in 6th, then Summers in 7th, just ahead of Martin in 8th, Ira Felberg in 9th, Peter Wilkinson in 10th.
Just outside the top 10, Vic Bedsland there with his late pit there. Reg James getting a bit of damage there in 12th place. Jason Fewens, James Chastanoff having an absolute disaster of a race with that long pit stop and an early spin. Liam Williams and cars being a lap down. Darren Lissio, Cameron Cousins, Matthew Joy, Philip Howe and Philip Bakasoulis.
There was a bit of a late race coming together, I think, between Howe and Bakasoulis, and of course Jeremy Bush unable to take the start, and Dean Russell, I think, either was a lap 1 casualty or chose not to. So that is the finishing order from race 2 at Phoenix, and we can grab a word with a few of the drivers from today's races. I'm always a big fan of starting with 3rd place. So we go to Nathan Verney, and bit of a battle you had back and forth with Matthew Mites, trading some lap times if not necessarily going quite wheel to wheel, and he closed you up at the end. You held on.
Yeah, it was good. I've had some good battles with him over the course of the season, and yeah, it was some nice racing today, and I'm glad I managed to hold on for a podium. It's been a while. So it's good to be speaking to you guys again.
Delightful to have you. A few challenges around this circuit here, even if it's not Daytona or the Nordschleife, but what were you finding a real struggle in the Skippy? Obviously, that turn 1 section looks tough. Pit entry might have caught out Chastanoff, and we saw quite a few spins in the infield.
Yeah, it's particularly the first race. It was the temperature of the track. I just didn't have any confidence in turning in, and I think as you go by, you start to get a little handle on it and think you've got it, and all of a sudden something will come up and bite you, especially in turn 1, and even getting it a bit wrong coming into the big horseshoe turn in the infield.
Lap 1 pit stop works out, but we saw quite a few drivers go longer. What were the thoughts with that?
I'm probably the last person that should be talking about pit stops given my strategy last week. It probably cost Broden and myself top 5 finish, so I just go with the flow nowadays. So I don't know what those guys are doing, and hopefully it worked out for them, but yeah, it's not my expertise.
Well, congrats on podium in the feature race here. anyone you would like to thank?
Yep, I'd like to thank my teammate Braden Martin. It's been good pushing each other and getting each other quicker. And also Julie and Mookie for doing our lovely paint scheme, which isn't as good as the last paint scheme because I was providing suggestions, I think. So that worked out well. And thanks to all the guys, a commiseration to Jeremy Bush, who a bit of gremlins technical issues, and qualified really well for that second race. So it's sad to see that he couldn't make the grid.
Thank you, Nathan Verney, third place finisher today. So we move one more step up the podium, and for some reason Russell Clark has gone and disappeared on us. Bit camera shy, potentially. So we'll go to round winner, Cam Dance, who is with Nick.
Cam, well done. Such a dominant display there over both the sprint and the feature race.
Yeah, certainly. I didn't quite expect to win it as easy as I did in the second race, but unfortunately, James got a penalty and then that move on at turn 1 on the last lap, and race 1 was an absolute cracker. So, yeah, definitely helps championship a lot going into the final round at Nürburgring, and certainly going to be taking a lot of pressure off, that's for sure.
Was that actually, Dave and I were talking about it there in race 1, was that actually a strategic letting Russell Clark through there in race 1 so you could get him to pull Chastanoff back in?
Not really, but also at the same time it worked in favour. I actually got a slow down on the way towards the hairpin before we come onto the oval, so I had to serve it, and just running high seemed to get it out of the way quite nicely. But yeah, it was kind of ironic how I had to serve the slow down, and then Russell just more or less pulled me along towards James, and then in the end I knew I had to send it at some point, so took the opportunity to get past Russell at least in turn 1, and then suddenly the door opened up on the exit of turn 1 pretty much, and just slotted on in.
Yeah, so talking about the championship now, I think it was about 9 points that separated you and Chastanoff, so this really helps your campaign here in the championship now with maximum points there against Chastanoff, which unfortunately did not score as well. What's in the preparation for the next couple of rounds? I know that the Nordschleifer is one of these.
Yeah, probably going to do minimal, to be honest. The Nordschleife is obviously one of my more favourite tracks, so I'll be looking forward to it. I do enjoy it a lot, especially on the Skippy. You can just throw the car around and everything. So yeah, looking forward to it and seeing what happens. It's going to be very much a race of keeping it out of the walls, and also making sure you don't get balked by the safety car as well with those pit stops. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but in the end it's a very, very nice buffer that we've got heading into Nürburgring, so we'll just try and bring it home from here.
Yeah, nice. Definitely an excellent display that you've done there tonight, Cam. Any people you'd like to thank?
Yeah, just obviously shout out to Ira and all the boys on track for the awesome series, and you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast, and then obviously all the boys at TechSense Fitstone Motorsport, and our supporters, TechSense Sensors, Renvar Harnesses, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Majors Garage, and obviously Kiwi Simulators and Hyper Stimulator.
I feel like you've said that, but maybe once or twice before there. But yeah, absolutely, congratulations there, Cam Dance, on a great performance.
Cheers.
Yeah, we give him the opportunity almost weekly, it feels. So if he didn't have it down pat, he'd have no one but himself to blame on that one. But that is all of the racing we've got today from Phoenix International Raceway in Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series. But next week, well, a track a little different from Phoenix Roval. Of course, it is the Nürburgring Nordschleifer. This is going to be a challenging one for all of the drivers. Nick says he doesn't like having to remember too many corners. So I don't know if you're going to be alongside me here or racing, but well, definitely a very, very famous track that is definitely going to be a place some people are looking forward to going, but I'm not sure everyone's a fan.
I know, yeah, and Bo likes to show off with him knowing what absolutely every single corner's called. So yeah, you might need to ask him to come along potentially.
I'm pretty handy with some of the corner names as well. Let's see how many of them I do or don't butcher in a week's time when Ozicar Formula Skip Barber Series continues on February 11th, of course, at the Nürburgring and here on Simspeed. So from me, David Haynes, from Nick Scarriev alongside me, and from Jay Kennedy with the buttons and the cameras and the graphics and the overlays, etc., I want to say thank you for watching and see you in a week.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Section's very close. These guys, I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?